What is up, everyone? Anthony of the Dead here, and we are back with another exclusive Gruemonkey interview. And by the time you're probably seeing this to the masses, besides YouTube, of course, the site has been redone and relaunched, and it's very exciting. It's something that's definitely going to be worth it for everybody who's been waiting to see the launch, and we're going to have a lot of cool stuff. There's stuff that I don't even fully know yet until I see it at the time of this recording, but just know that all good things come to those who wait. And this is Paul Taylor interview, and we did this a little while ago, and we discussed Hellraiser. At the time, the film was not out when this was recorded, and there wasn't like much out there at the time. So now the movie is out. You can check it out on VOD. It is out there on Amazon. Pretty much any on-demand stuff. I was looking at on my Sony TV. You could just, if you have any smart TV, you can just pull it right up and you can rent it, buy it. It's one of the things, like, comparing to the other Hellraisers, it's one of the better ones that have come out in recent years. I mean, and he did a great job, in my opinion. Some people can say what they will about it, but I thought he did a great job. And what a class act and a gentleman. We sat down and talked about some of his influences growing up and how he got into horror. He wasn't really allowed to watch horror at a younger age, but he became a really big fan and is a true passionate fan of the series and appreciates the series for what it is. So when you're taking on a role such as like Doug Bradley, for example, going into that spot, there's a lot of pressure, but the thing is that when you're going in as a fan, you don't take it for granted, and I think like people like Derek Mears from the Friday 13th remake was kind of like the same way, where he like really could relate to Jason, but the thing is that he was a big fan, and I think like the genuine kind of aspect that goes into the acting, I think there's something special here, regardless of what people say. So this is the interview with Paul Taylor, and we had a great conversation, and I want to thank him for taking the time to do it. And this is again going to be one of the few times you actually get to hear him talk to the full extent about him working on the film, the makeup process. We go into a lot of stuff. So here it is, our interview with Paul Taylor.
Evil seeks evil.
What is going on here?
Let's just dive in, shall we?
What we're investigating, it's very dark.
Just curious. What do you see?
You think you're too close to this case?
Jesus Christ.
It's him.
What on earth is this place? It isn't. There's hell to pay.
What were some of the movies you were into when you were younger? Maybe some horror movies, or was it just kind of a whole spectrum of certain movies when you were growing up?
Well, it was kind of the whole spectrum. I didn't discover horror till probably Trilogy of Terror, because I wasn't wasn't really allowed to watch horror by my folks. I mean, there were some scary movies out there. I remember there was a TV movie with Hope Lang where she played a witch and she got pressed to the board and the stones at the end. That was wild. I think it took place in Salem. That scared me. And of course, you know, the little zany fetish doll. I remember one Saturday night I was home alone, growing up in Hutchinson, Kansas, and no one was there. I don't know how old I was, but Trilogy of Terror came on, and that little zany fetish doll scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And Jaws was one of my first ones. But really, I mean, I loved the Disney stuff. I loved Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Of course, the child hunter. What was he? The child catcher. Kid Child Catcher was my favorite. You know, but I really grew up pretty protected as a kid, and my parents paid very close attention to what was called GP, not PG, but GP.
Oh yeah, GP. Yeah, I remember that rating.
And then R came along, and of course I wasn't allowed to see R-rated movies, except my junior or sophomore year of high school. I started working at a movie theater, but on weekends would show the Midnight Delight movies, and my parents one time came by to check on me, and I was in the theater watching this soft porn movie. Of course, I wasn't supposed to be. I was a bad boy. So I said something about having to check the air conditioning. What a stupid lie.
Oh, wow.
But anyway.
That's interesting that, like, those theaters back then would just show all that stuff, too. Like, that was just a different time compared to now. Like, back then, they could just show any exploitation movie or any kind of, you know, old school, like, grindhouse movie just, like, in a theater or, like, a softcore or a sex film like that. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But I was just very sort of the word isn't protected, is it? It was whatever. Anyway, no. So I didn't, you know. But when I did, I loved the way horror made me feel as a kid, and I related it to, you know, how I would feel in a haunted house at Halloween or something, or hiding in the bushes at Halloween or whatever. Loved it so much. So there was always that part of me that loved being scared and loved scaring other people, and you know, I wasn't allowed to see The Exorcist, all this stuff I missed,
and they were all popular movies at the time. Definitely, like a really that era of horror movies. You know, still to this day, they just don't make them like that anymore. You know, and that's
no, they don't. And Omen and on all the sequels to the Omen and Damien and, you know, all that stuff. And again, another with Karen Black, Burnt Offerings. That's an amazing movie.
I haven't seen it.
It's great. You should see it. And it's her, it's Oliver Reed and Betty Davis.
Oh,
and
wow.
And Karen Black just basically loses her mind and gets possessed by this house, and Oliver Reed loses his mind as well, and there's this, it's madness. It's really good movie.
Yeah, yeah, like that's the thing. Like with, you know, some of that and that take on horror. Do you have any actual influences when it comes to actors that you watched on the screen when growing up? As far as, you know, did you know if they were going to be an influence, or did you ever go back and like watch and be like, wow, I didn't even know that had as much impact on me? Sometimes a lot of actors, they see, you know, they kind of get some kind of influence by earlier stuff that they watched.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's an interesting question. I've not thought about that before, actually, so I don't have a ready answer. But I do remember watching Vincent Price in The Abominable Dr. Phibes, and also I think was he in The Raven, or was that someone else? My grade school for one Halloween showed us The Raven, and I remember opening. There's a scene where they open a drawer and it's a drawer full of eyeballs. I just thought that was the grooviest thing. But yeah, so cool. But as far as influences go, I would say Vincent Price was definitely there. He wasn't. I think to a kid he's scary, but there's also something about Vincent Price that was kind of kind of funny and whimsical and campy, and he had that great voice, and it was a little bit,
Yeah.
I know it was his real voice, but it was just so affected and strange, and yet very intelligent. Other than that, maybe it was more about sitcoms, but I didn't have a favorite. Well, actually, no. Dustin Hoffman was my favorite movie star when I was a kid. So I would say, Dustin Hoffman in Dog Day Afternoon, and that was Al Pacino. Whoops. Dustin Hoffman in Papillon. That's what I meant to say. He's great in that. And there was one other. Who was it? I just thought of somebody else too. It escaped me. I'd say maybe I was a huge James Bond movie fan.
Oh yeah.
Although I don't think Roger Moore was the best James Bond. He was
Which
the
era
most
was your
risky
favorite?
of all. Which James Bond is my favorite?
Yeah, like which era of that series?
Well, I really do like the Daniel Craig era. I think he's an excellent.
Yeah, I
James
think he's
Bond
doing
because
another
he's
one.
Such an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that toughness. But really, Sean Connery. I mean, just the original. It's almost always best. Now, when I was growing up, it was Roger Moore, and so I got a lot. Again, the James Bond had turned into a lot of camp. It was campy, and it was silly, and it was Man with the Golden Gun, and it was voodoo and jumping on crocodiles' heads and stuff. It was pretty wacky, but yeah, I would say my favorite was definitely. Daniel Craig is the only one who, in my mind, can compete with what Sean Connery did.
I agree. I have to agree
changed
with that.
so much over the years. Yeah, it's just a lot of things have just grown up. And I think if a franchise is around for a long enough time, people are ready for. The stories mature. The stuff sometimes gets more gritty or returns to its original grittiness and its original seriousness. And I think that's kind of what's happened with the James Bond stuff, because it's like, let's don't make fun of it. Let's take it seriously, because that's why they're the hardcore fans of people. Especially since that's based on literature.
Yeah.
Ian Fleming, wrote these books, and he did research. He didn't make this stuff up. Some of the gadgets maybe, but people take this stuff seriously. So I think that's kind of, if a franchise lasts long enough, hopefully that happens too.
Yeah, I think because now we're at a time where the technology has caught up to where they can really do different kind of effects. I feel like now it's a lot more realistic, so they kind of return to that style of film where they're like, okay, we can do this specific thing and it might not look as silly. Some people were mixed on Spectre, but I think he's doing another one, so I guess we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I think it's his last one. I think he said it's his last one.
Yeah,
anyway.
He said it was last one last time, but then I guess they must have offered him a lot of money.
Then here's some more millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd say no, but I saw something the other night. It had been shot in 35 millimeter on purpose, and it's a contemporary film.
Oh wow!
I wish I could remember right now what it was, but I saw it in the theater. It was a screening of a new film of I think the Dallas filmmaker. God, why can't I remember this? And I loved it so much because it was in 35 millimeter. And to me, I don't like high def. To me, high def looks cheap, but 35 millimeter looks like, ooh.
Yeah.
People are being spied on. This is really happening, and this is what it looks like. And there's shadows and there's graininess, and it's like, this is what things look like in a dream. And so I wish that they could. I'm sure someone's doing it. Someone's probably already done it. Do something that is in 35 millimeter, but be able to use, if they need to, use the the contemporary very high-tech CGI if they need to, and so that the combination of the two just makes it freaking amazing. Like the movie that was, it was one word. I think it started with a C. It was about a monster, and it was 3 or 4 syllables, and it was the huge monster is New York City. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the way
really good.
Cloverfield was made. That was freaking amazing.
Yeah,
It was just so amazing.
So much better than a lot of the found footage stuff that was going on at the time. Looking back at it, even 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a different kind of spin on it.
Yeah, I did really love that movie, though.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That John Goodman was
John
so good in that.
Goodman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He was
yeah.
awesome. They did a good job at doing something with Cloverfield where it was like, you know, taking that like 2007 camcorder and flipping it around and, you know, doing that. But yeah, but the film with 35 millimeter, like I know Rob Zombie's done, he did Devil Rejects, similar to that, and Halloween. So there's certain filmmakers that love that era of like the 60s, 70s, you know, grit, especially with whatever content of like, if it's a dark movie, I feel like a lot of directors should start doing that again just to kind of get that vibe, because now with horror and all the effects and the CG, that sometimes can be, it could be a little bit, if it's not practical, I feel like it doesn't work as much. I think that's a big thing that I've noticed a lot. Cloverfield looked real because it was something where it didn't show you a lot, and what you didn't see kind of made you like, you're like, what is that? You know, like there are certain things they showed and they waited. But yeah, I feel like now with modern day horror, it's one of those things where they just don't, some of the effects, they just don't look good and at all, because it's like, you know, it's HD, it's computers, it's there's a lot of things that go into play.
And yeah, there's expense
Exactly.
along with that to make it look really good. It has to go through so many different processes, and I think some of these directors and production companies just don't have the resources, or they don't want to spend the money on that, to go that extra mile to make their CGI look real.
Yeah.
Because God knows it can. You know, look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Wow. I mean, stuff like that, or you know, all that stuff. Yeah, it's an interesting combination of things. You know, Gary Tunnicliffe, who of course wrote and directed Hellraiser Judgment, is, you know, he always used practical effects, and he's recently retired. He says retired from the world of doing the makeup and the effects, because he wants to write and direct. But according to him, it's just the only movies that are using real effects are the more low-budget movies, and because CGI has gotten better and better. But the other side of that is, the reason it's gotten better and better is because the movies that are using it have all the money, you know. So
yeah, that's true.
It still takes a lot of money to do it. It's maybe getting cheaper to do it, but it's still it also takes a skill that you have to pay someone to have. Not everyone can just, you know, get the program and make it look great.
Yeah, it's got to look convincing. It's got to look good with like the subject matter. You like, because you have, you know, the like, you kind of have shows like Walking Dead's a good example of the mixture of practical and some CG stuff, but it still looks
so
like
good.
Yeah, and it looks good because it's still kind of on that TV show level where you're not gonna like, it doesn't have to be over the top. They kind of make it work, and I like that, especially with like the Georgia setting, and it's more set back. It's not like over the top Hollywood, despite what some people might have said about it. But speaking of Hellraiser Judgment, were you a fan of the Hellraiser series before actually getting the part, or when were you first introduced to it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I took my Pinhead and my puzzle box, my Pinhead action figure in the puzzle box that came with, you know, that you had to buy the action figures to put the parts together.
Yeah.
The Nika. I took that to my audition. I mean, I had all of the action figures from when they were first produced, I think in '93. So yeah, I'm a huge Hellraiser fan, and there's just something about the leather and the pins and the piercings and the hooks and the S&M world, and it's just crazy. Clive Barker's mind. So yeah, I've been a fan of Hellraiser since I saw the first film. Now the hooks in the flesh. Obviously, that's real effects, and obviously, it's not real because they couldn't be real, but it's real effects. And,
Yeah.
If it were CGI, it wouldn't have worked because it has to be that gross out. And it's weird because when you're watching it, you know it's not real, but it's still so gross.
Yeah.
Because it looks like a hook in human flesh. I mean, it's a little saggy. I think the flesh is a little saggy, but still, who knows? I don't know. It should look nasty, and it does. And I used to cringe. I mean, I would cringe at that, and I think that's part of the reason I loved it so much. It's so the stretching of the flesh. It wasn't just a knife, It wasn't just a hatchet. It wasn't just getting your head chopped off.
Like a normal serial killer weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Like the three top ones that we all love. Halloween, Friday 13th, and Freddy. It's like, come on, those three are the top 3 horror icons in the world of contemporary horror. And then we have Pinhead, and he's completely different, and he's not for everybody. And I think that's the darkness and the intelligence and the menace behind that, and the fact that he was from hell, and that in this universe that Barker created, it makes sense. He has a job. He's just doing his job. I sort of love the here's what you asked for. This is exactly what you asked for. Here it is, or the crime and punishment sort of aspect to it. Instead of just, you're teenagers in the woods having sex, I'm going to kill you because my mother told me to. It's different. But anyway, it's not. It's weird because Hellraiser wasn't camp, but it was over the top. It was so over the top, so audacious and in your face.
Dark. Yeah.
And took itself very seriously. And some people think too seriously because it's ridiculous. But yet, that's what we want, isn't it? We want to go to that place where it's just so bizarre and you can visit it. It's not real, but it's just so crazy, dark and dangerous, and it's kind of like we're a peeping Tom, something, watching people doing terrible things to each other.
Yeah, it's
almost pornography.
Yeah, it's pretty much like you want a horror film that takes you out of your everyday life and puts you in this world that, it's kind of crazy and messed up, and that, especially when you mention with the effects, I think that's another good point too. It's, even if looking at that stuff, it's over the top, but it's still, it gives it that realistic factor, that uncomfortable feeling that you get. I think that's what makes people, because horror fans, they can, quote lines, and they can, just memorize scenes like that. And especially if you're doing CG or something, like the fans notice stuff like that. They notice the little things because they're that dedicated. So I think it really makes them appreciate it a lot more when things like that are genuinely scary. And it's not just something like, I don't know, some kind of found footage ghost movie. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. And it's something that I hope never goes away, real effects, because there's an art to it. It's a true living art. I mean, the camera catches it, but it catches it while it's happening. It's and if it doesn't look good, then, well, I don't know. I know nothing basically about CGI, but it was really fun to be on that set and watch, the stuff I did get to see. It was crazy. It's not scary, of course, when you're on the set. It's like,
it's fun.
That's how they do that. Wow, cool. And then, of course, movie magic. It looked real. So. Yeah.
Well, with Hellraiser, as the series progressed, and obviously now, we have the newest addition to it, which is Judgment. And how did this role come about? How did it get presented to you? Who made the call? Did you talk to someone? How did this come about? Because I think there was someone else who played. I forget the guy's name who played the last Pinhead in the last movie. I forget his name.
I'll probably get it wrong.
Yeah,
I think it was
obviously Doug
Stephen
Bradley,
Smith
but there was
Collins.
the one in 2011, right? I think that was it.
Yeah, I think his name is Stephen Smith Collins, but I could be completely wrong there.
I think
might be
it's.
confusing
Let me
you.
look. Oh, Stephen. Yeah, Stephen Collins. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like what was that?
Yeah.
Did he like not do? He didn't want to do another one.
You know, it's filmed in Oklahoma City. I live in Dallas. I'm
Okay.
really good friends with. I have an excellent relationship with the casting director in Oklahoma City. His name's Chris Freihofer. He's cast me over the years in several things, and he knows that I'm a horror freak.
Oh, nice.
But there aren't that. He's cast me in one movie before, which was about. It's called The Gray Man. It was about the original true cannibalistic child killer, Frank. What was his last name? A G. Oh, I can't remember. That's weird. Anyway, he knows I'm a huge horror fan. So,
Yeah.
and he knows I've got a darkness to me. I have a darkness that I love. I love creepy. I love that
Yeah.
stuff. But never really got to play this kind of character before. He thought of me for another role as well, called The Auditor, which is a new Cenobite role, and sent me the sides for that. I read the first line, and I knew that it was a Hellraiser movie. It was being kept a secret. It was just called Judgment at the time.
Wow.
But I read the Auditor's first line in the sides that I was to memorize, and I was like, this is a Hellraiser movie. Oh,
Being a
awesome.
fan, you were just
Awesome.
Like, yes.
I
this
want
is
to be in a Hellraiser movie. I'm going to get this role. And then maybe 10 minutes later, I get a private email sent just to me by my agent, as opposed to the group email that was sent to all the different people he was calling in for these other roles, saying that he wanted to see me for Pinhead. But he couldn't have put that in the other email, because then people would have known it was a Hellraiser movie.
Yeah.
So that freaked me out, and I decided, after my first reaction being, oh, there's no freaking way I'm not going to get this part. They're going to cast somebody else. That didn't last long, and I just decided that it would be the best audition I'd ever given in my life. And I had 4 days to get off books. I could go in there and really nail it. He came down to Dallas. He put me on tape. I didn't even have a callback. I went in there, though, and I nailed the audition. I did everything I could to bring everything I had with a flavor of Doug Bradley, because I know it has to have that. Pinhead has to have that. And I waited for a few weeks, and then I knew, I was told at one point I was the director's favorite. I was everyone in the studio's favorite, except the top dogs, which were, of course, the Weinsteins. And Harvey Weinstein had to give the final word, the final go-ahead. He was at Cannes Film Festival, or is it Cannes? Anyway, Cannes. And they had sent him my audition tape, but the file was too big for his phone, so he wasn't able to watch it over the weekend. And anyway, blah, blah, blah. This time goes by. And finally, one morning, I think it was a Sunday morning, or maybe it was Monday morning, I get a text from Chris saying, Are you awake? And I said, yes. And he said, welcome to the movie, Pinhead.
Oh, wow.
So it was that. I mean, it was surprisingly easy, because I've been a professional actor for over 30 years.
Yeah.
I am a huge horror fan. I know Pinhead. I know Hellraiser. And I wanted it more than anything I've ever wanted. And I had just recently gotten through several years of some really, really, really dark times. So feeling very grateful and just trying to manifest, what I wanted for my life, manifest my dreams, if you will. And then this opportunity came along, and it was like the timing just worked out, and I happened to be right place, right time, and I nailed it. So it was much simpler than you'd think. I mean, it was definitely not an overnight kind of thing, but one audition, not a call, no callbacks. Didn't meet the director before, just bam, I booked it on tape. It was pretty amazing. I'm so thrilled because Chris told me that they wanted to use an LA actor just because there's this attitude that some studios have, that you have to have an LA actor or a New York actor, or they're not a real actor, or whatever. They shouldn't be in the movies. I don't know. I understand it on one level, but at the same time, it's like, it's stupid. And he said to me, this is a great victory for the flyover actors. Flyover actor meaning they fly from New York to LA. They fly right over Texas,
Yeah.
So he's like, it's a great victory for the flyover actors, and it says, it speaks volumes. So anyway, that's how it came to me. It's kind of like I willed it into existence in a way. I mean, just from my own love for the franchise and having these toys and having the puzzle box, and like, well, if I was gonna play one of them, Pinhead was the one for me to play. If not that, then Freddy Krueger. Now, who knows if that could ever happen? But I'm a funny person. I mean, I'm quirky, I'm funny, and I'm dark. But I more often than not play kind of funny, quirky, quite often assholes.
Yeah.
So to be able to play a freaking monster, a totally serious monster, is just such. It was a dream. It was a dream. Dream come true. It's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, like with taking on that role and obviously being a fan, when you were slipping into that character, did you try to go into it bringing something different to the table? Did you want to maybe stay true to what you've seen Pinhead, or maybe have seen him portrayed as, or trying to kind of put your new twist on it, because it is a different person, it is you? So what was your process slipping into that character?
There was a certain, for a while I was just watching the Hellraiser movies because I just, like, I have to watch these. I have to watch all 9 of these.
Yeah.
Some I watch more than others because some are just better than others, or I would just watch Doug Bradley and just fast forward his scenes. And then there came a time when Gary and I agreed that it was time for me to stop watching Hellraiser, stop thinking about any of that, and just concentrate on this Pinhead for this script and what I would bring to it. And Gary gave me some ideas from some influences, such as Peter Cushing, because I reminded him of him anyway, and Ralph Fiennes to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. But it came from me. I mean, it really did. I knew that I was going to do a British accent because I just feel like Pinhead has to have one. That's just the way it is. Because it's a British franchise, because of Doug Bradley, all that. So that was a given. Excuse me. And the dialect specifically was more the Queen's English than anything. Very proper, very upper crust. But after speaking to Gary about, or whatever, he texted me, whatever, and learning that he thought that I should just not watch anymore. Yeah. I did start watching some other screen villains just for some flavor to, but eventually I stopped watching all of it and would just do it just for me, and just knowing that I was going to that dark place, and this is how the script, Pinhead's character in this particular script is a little different. Okay. It's as if maybe more time has gone by. He's perhaps a little older, a little more jaded. He's not tired of his job, but he's accustomed to it. There's a weariness, possibly, or a boredom almost. Perhaps he's not as grateful for his position as he used to be. I'm not sure, but he's a cocky sumbitch, and I think it's a place in his existence where it's kind of old hat. He's not bored, but he still enjoys his work, but it's kind of old hat, and the script just kind of goes places. That takes Pinhead through some changes that, I mean, you're not used to Pinhead having an arc, but he kind of has an arc in this. Not seen him angry before, but there are no. He makes no jokes in this film. There's nothing. He's never pithy. He's never funny.
Yeah.
There are lines that might be remembered and quoted, but they're not like one-liners. I wish I got to say, "Do I look like someone who cares what God thinks?" But it's already been said. But there were some great lines. There were some great lines that I think are really gonna stand out, and it was just so great. And what I really concentrated on eventually was just the stillness of the power. Pinhead has all the power. He's the most terrifying one on the screen or in this world, and he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to act anything. I put quotation marks around do and act because, of course, obviously I am doing things, I'm acting, but it's like it's understated. It has to be subtle. And Doug Bradley was always so good at that. Just because he's a theatrical actor. He's a stage actor, and so am I. And I think that really helps to a certain extent. I mean, film acting is different than theater. Obviously, film has to be more concentrated and more in the eyes, and you do less. But you don't really do less. It's just that what you do is in a different. The energy is in a different place. It has to be all in your eyes. And so anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even from the, from not even how just, what the actor brings to the table when playing Pinhead, and of course it sounds like you brought a lot of your own personality and demons to that, a lot of the stuff you went through in dark times. How did that also
My own demons, yeah, exactly. My own suffering is what I brought to it.
Yeah, and that
I absolutely loved it. It was, when I was a kid, what I liked more than anything at Halloween was being grotesque, unrecognizable, and scary.
Yeah.
And concealed. Because, obviously when you're in that makeup, you look terrifying. So there's that aspect of it. It's like, I'm a god. I have all the power. I don't have to do anything to be looked at. But other than that, I mean, that's a different subject actually. To answer your question, it's much like when I got the full head cast done. I loved it. Some people could be claustrophobic with that. I absolutely loved it. It was warm and it was like a cocoon.
That's cool.
And with the Pinhead makeup, it's fairly thin. It's made to exactly fit your face, and then it has to be thinner. You look like a chipmunk, so it has to be it has to be very thin. So it's not like a lot. It looks like your skin. So you can move. I could breathe fine. It wasn't hot. The costume was hotter than the makeup. But I could sit there. I envy Doug Jones's career. He's the he Pan's Labyrinth and all these other films. And all these movies where he is the guy. He's the one who will sit for hours and hours and hours in a makeup chair to do one take. And he looks freaking amazing, and he likes it, or at least he doesn't mind it. And I think that I could do that because at this point in my career, I've been doing this for so many years, and I haven't had that much experience in film. If someone wanted to do a full body cast of me and completely cover my body and make me look like an alien or some sort of monster, I would be so into it. I can't even tell you. I just want that. That you can still act. It's not. I also want to do movies where I'm not wearing any makeup, of course, but to be a monster is the coolest. It's just the coolest. So I loved the makeup, and I wish I'd had more days on the set because I didn't. It's the role of Pinhead. It's like Gary says, you can't have too much Pinhead. That's like having too much icing on your cake. You'll get sick.
Yeah,
the
that's true.
Cenobites are the icing on the really well-made cake.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So I was in the city for a week. I had 3 days of filming. Now they were very organized, so I still have a lot of screen time. I mean, especially at the end, I'm in the last 20 minutes, which is great. I mean, that's the big, showdown scene and everything. But before that, I have either 3 or 4 very, smaller scenes. So I just loved it, and I didn't mind the waiting because I sort of went into a meditative state. There was the set, and then I'd come around the door when it was cut and sit on my chair and just sit and breathe and wait, because you had to deal with the contacts and everything, and just stay in character and all that kind of thing, and just I don't want to be bothered by anything other than what I need to be thinking about. So it was kind of zen-like. Loved it so much. So the makeup's great.
Yeah, and
great.
There's also some different people as well as including Heather Langenkamp. How was it working with her, and were you a fan of her work in Nightmare on Elm Street?
I didn't get to work with her in the movie. We didn't have any scenes together.
Okay.
But I didn't meet her on the set. I met her at she plays a landlady, and she plays a landlady in the world where I don't really exist. I mean, where I'm not, I don't know exactly what building she's a landlady of, but Pinhead doesn't go there. So I did get to meet her at Texas Frightmare. She was a guest at Texas Frightmare, and I went after I shot the movie, and the very first unofficial poster had come out. A friend of mine said, "Well, you need to go to a convention to see what it's like, because it just could be your new life." And so I did. I ran off a few very small posters because I wasn't a guest, a paid guest. I paid to go, and I laid them out on a. I said, "Can I use this table? This table where nothing is?" And people, attendants would say, "Sure, you can." I'd put my stuff up on the table, and then I'd walk away and just walk around and come back, and it would be gone, and then I'd put some more down there, and well, I gotta start somewhere. So anyway, I at one point, I didn't want to. Heather Langenkamp's line was huge. It was so long, I didn't want to wait. So I figured if I told her, assistant that I was Pinhead in the Hellraiser movie that she was doing, that she might stop to talk to me. So she did, and she said, "Well, hi." Well, she gestured around the room, the ballroom. She goes, "Well, welcome." Cool. Okay. I can stand being a guest at a convention. I like it. So anyway, horn in on Doug Bradley's territory a little bit. Whoops. Anyway, so that was cool, but I didn't actually get to work with her. But it was just so cool that she let the word slip that she was doing a Hellraiser film and that she's already horror movie royalty.
Yeah.
It was like,
People
really
love
gives
her.
the movie more cachet. I mean, yeah, people love her. So it was just so cool. She had gone to the casting director, Chris, and with a script she'd written or was going to be producing anyway, and wanted him to cast it. And he recognized her name, he thought, but he didn't look her up until after she left. He looked her up on IMDb and saw that she was in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and so then thought of the role of the landlady and gave her a call. She said, "Sure, I'd like to." And so she took the role, but it was a secret. It was supposed to still be a secret that it was a Hellraiser movie. But maybe nobody told Heather. I don't know. But she's the one who let it slip. She was in an interview, and she told somebody that she was in the next Hellraiser movie. So suddenly, and this was the same day, basically, that I arrived in Oklahoma City to start shooting. So suddenly I'm on my cell phone just looking up stuff at night, just going, oh my God, it's blowing up. There's a new Hellraiser movie. Doug Bradley's not doing it. Who is it? So they had to do a bunch of damage control. But I have her to thank, because if she hadn't said that, it might still be a secret. And I might have lost my mind even more by now, because we shot it over a year ago. But what's really wonderful is I do have a convention agent now, and that's come out of it. And I've already done a few conventions, and I like it. I like that part of it. And it's a nice little extra income. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's really nice. And especially with that, that being the kind of the camaraderie that comes with it and everything, and all, and meeting the fans. How was it? Have you seeing those fans that are just like really like horror? I feel like there's really no other fans like horror fans that are so dedicated and excited to see what's up and coming. And
no, it's been so cool. It was from my very first convention, just realizing that these people who go to the Comic-Cons and the horror cons and stuff, they are so who they are. They're not pretending to be. I mean, they may be cosplaying, but they're not pretending to be anybody except. They're not pretending. This is who they are. They're so genuine and fun and weird. So many weird people, and I'm a weird. My dad always told me, "You're a weird kid." And then when I was an adult, he's like, "You were such a weird kid." And I'm like, "Well, I'm a weird adult now because now that's what happens." It's like freaks and geeks, and I love it. I feel like it's kind of like how I felt when I discovered theater for the first time as a kid. Like I found my people. It's like I found my people even more, because this isn't theater. This is like specifically horror, and it's crazy. And these people are bigger horror fans than I am, some of them. It's like, God, you freaks. You're such freaks, and I just feel so comfortable. Nobody's judging anybody. We can all be, of course, we have opinions, but everybody's been very nice to me. And the people, there have been some, of course, we have hardcore Doug Bradley fans who don't want to give me a chance, whatever. I don't care. I'm tired of them, but frankly, but whatever. That's their choice. The people who do come up to the table, or who have met me online or whatever, who are into this, who are into me being the new Pinhead, have been so cool and kind, and said some of the coolest things that just make me go, man, this is like the best. It's the best.
yeah,
So getting to go to the conventions, being a guest at a convention, being a celebrity, that word celebrity, or God forbid the word movie star, it's like, what?
yeah,
Is this happening to me? It's my fondest dream, and it's kind of happening. And so, I'm just so grateful, and it's been so far, it's been so much fun. The conventions where it's obvious that it's family oriented. I don't mean necessarily the patrons. I mean the people running it. They are this core group of people who are doing it because they love it so much, as opposed to being corporate about it.
Yeah.
Because there's that aspect too. And now I've been to both types, and I really more enjoy the ones that are more family run, or that aren't trying too hard.
Yeah.
You know, some of these big ones are well-oiled machines, though, so that's great too. I did Chiller Theater this year, and I was thrilled to be there. Got to meet Andrew. Oh, he played the uncle. The stepfather in the original Hellraiser. Andrew.
Oh,
Sorry, Andrew. I can't remember your name. Andrew.
I don't know his last
I
name.
don't know. It's not coming. He was there, and I got to meet him, and it was he was just so encouraging and cool. It was like he said, "Welcome to the Hellraiser family." I'm like, oh, I hope that everyone from the first movie feels that way. Anyway, I hope I get to meet Clive Barker. I hope Clive sees Hellraiser Judgment and likes my work. That's what I really hope for. I feel really good about it, and I feel good about the script. I think Gary did an admirable job. He loves Clive Barker. He loves Clive Barker's writing.
Yeah.
And this script has been a long time coming. I mean, it's had a couple different incarnations, but it's a true Hellraiser script. And it's been described by people who've seen it as Hellraiser meets Seven and The Cell. So that kind of gives you an idea.
Okay.
And Gary's worked with some amazing directors over the years. I think that's why he was ready at this point in his career to start directing. And what better thing for him to direct than the thing that he's done. He's been involved with the Hellraiser films since the third one. He was on the fourth one, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, he's done a few Hellraiser movies. So, it's a labor of love for him. So I think, and his direction was wonderful, and I did get to see an unofficial trailer. Oh man, it was over a year ago probably. That was put together for the promotional team to watch, I guess, so they'd know how to. I don't know why they did it, but anyway, I got to see a trailer, and the casting director showed it to me several times. He wouldn't share it with me, but he didn't want me to share it with anyone.
Yeah.
Like, come on! But he showed it to me several times, and I got to see it and just squealed because it was so beautiful and moving, and there I was, a monster. It was just crazy. But I think it looks gorgeous. So I think that's real important too. A lot of beauty in that gore, and that's what Clive Barker does.
Yeah.
Takes these disgusting thoughts and behaviors and makes them sound or look beautiful. It's so bizarre. And I think, some of the directors who've done Hellraiser films, sequels, have gotten away from that. I think this one is back on track.
That's
But
great
I
to
haven't
hear.
seen it. We'll just see.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for the time. It was a great conversation with you. Really
You're welcome,
appreciate you taking
Anthony.
the time
My
for us.
pleasure. Glad that we could do this.
That concludes our interview with Paul Taylor, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to essentially everybody over at Gruemonkey for, making everything awesome. Rocky obviously goes through thick and thin with some of these, agents sometimes, trying to schedule stuff and trying to work it in with my schedule, and he's always hard at work at what he does, and I don't think he gives himself enough credit. Ani, of course, and Tim. For just everybody that makes this stuff possible and that's given me a chance to talk to these people. It's been wonderful. And I really hope that, with the changes coming to the site and how big everything is going to be, that we just succeed more and we, support each other, and it's just going to be a great thing. So appreciate all the opportunities that has been given to me. And, it's been a great time just being able to talk to everyone and just kind of share the creative ideas and just to talk and just have a good time. It's been great. So we'll catch you guys in the next one, because there's probably going to be more than one episode posted. So Catch you guys in the next one.